Kalispera. That's my Greek. Sorry about that. So I live in Switzerland. I'm originally from Germany. I spent 17 years in the US. So if I speak too quickly, that's because I'm used to American audiences. You have to speak quickly, otherwise people leave. We do have translation on the table. I mean, for the Greek part, right? So you're welcome to use that if I moved a little bit too quickly. So I'm here to talk to you about the future. And it's funny, I started doing this about 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, I was talking about the future that was far away, like science fiction. Right? And today, you can say that the future is already here. I mean, it's mind-boggling, all the things we're doing today. Just imagine, today on this device here, the smartphone, this device has the same computing power than the computer that brought the Americans to the moon. The same computing power in here. In this device I have, if you know Spotify or music services, anybody use Spotify here, right? 21 million songs in here. My banking is in here. My music is in here. My contacts are in here. My dating, if I'm married, but if I wanted to date, I could use it for that. Right? It's all in here. This used to be different. I mean, this is basically science fiction. And now very soon, I was in Japan 3 months ago, and I had a conversation with a sushi chef in Japanese. I was speaking in German into the translation called Say Hi. It's an app, right? You speak in German. It came out in Japanese, and the Japanese sushi chef spoke to me in Japanese in real time, like Star Trek, right? So I want to start here because these days I go to many places to speak all over the world, and I hear a lot that people are worried about the future. And in Greece, of course, that's a long topic, right? I'm not going to go into this, but people are worried for several reasons, like climate change, but also they're worried about machines, smart machines, taking their job. I mean, it's funny that all around the world, people are watching Hollywood movies like Transcendence or Ex Machina. And if you're in the banking business, there's already quite a few banks that use the robo-advisor. There's a software that you can talk to. So people are worried about the future because it seems like it's not going to need humans. So 3 years ago, I wrote a book on this called Technology versus Humanity to explain why we still need humans. And I think I want to share some of that. I want to start with this first. The future is better than we think. There's so many reasons to be excited about the future. I'll just list a few of them. There's so many reasons to look at this. Take this simple example of solar energy. We talked about solar energy for 50 years, and if you invested in solar energy like I did 20 years ago, you lost your money. Today, it's clear, in roughly 15 years, we can cover the world's energy supply by solar energy. This is not really a debate whether it's 15 or 18 or 20, it's not 50 years. Right? So we're moving to a world that's dramatically different, that's changing very quickly, and I want to start by sort of giving you the couple data points here. The change is exponential. This curve here, humans are linear. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go step by step. But technology goes in leaps. Right? Technology goes 2, 4, 8, 16. You may have heard about Moore's law, Metcalfe's law. So generally, technology doubles in power every 18 months and becomes half as expensive. If this curve goes on, in 30 years, 30x, that's 1 billion times as far away. So you can estimate in 20 years, the kids of my kids will live to be 100 years old because of advances in technology. 100 years on average. So that's 40 years on the cruise ship, right? If you get retired with 60. Right? We're going to see a world where the kids of our kids will not know how to drive a car because they can just speak to the car. The car just takes them. And we're talking about, if you're selling car insurance, you got to think about that, right? And again, here's the story the World Economic Forum says we're going to see automation. Jobs that are done by machines. And take a simple example. If you go to the grocery store, you buy food. Today, in many stores, you still have the checkout. Somebody take your money. In Switzerland, half where I live, half of the stores use the mobile checkout. because it works. And in San Francisco, if you take a Waymo, called Waymo car, I'll show you shortly, the car drives itself. This would not work in Greece, anytime soon. But there, Palo Alto, it works just fine. So we're looking at exponential change. And here's the key message on the future for us. Anything that's routine, the computers will learn. Because that's what computers do. If you give the computer 200 million facts about car insurance, life insurance, whatever it is, it will eventually learn the patterns. It just takes a little while. But then there's things that are not routine, like understanding, emotions, the things that make us human. And those are increasing. If you look at the chart, the non-routine jobs are going up, and the routine jobs are going down. So if you have kids, do them a favor. Do not let your kids learn anything that involves routine. Routine jobs, bookkeeping, for example, on the lower level, doing numbers, checking facts. Yeah, that's the job that's going to be taken by machines. So science fiction is becoming science fact. Now we have actually 3D printed houses. I was in China 3 months ago, and I went to a place by a company called Weisun. And Weisun prints entire houses in China from A to Z. It prints the outside and the inside. In 4 days, it prints the house. So I was asking them if they're next going to also print the people to go in the house, but they didn't answer the question. But we have robots, right? Robots can now do things that humans can't do. This robot here is 750 kilos. It does, as you can see, something that's impossible for most humans, which is coming up shortly. I mean, a crazy concept that a robot could even remotely do a backflip. Right? I mean, now these robots are actually better than humans. Now we can see the first things like the self-driving car.
Okay,
Communicating with the car. Turn it up a little bit.
Hey Google, what's on my agenda for today?
Today at 10 a.m., client meeting. At
So
1 p.m.,
you can
lunch
actually
with
speak to
Tracy.
Google in the
At
car.
6 p.m., Claire's basketball
That already
game.
works in the Tesla if you have a Tesla. It's the same direction. And then, of course, people are already very excited about self-driving cars, like this guy here. This is a trial. If you ever get a chance to try one, he's very excited about driving without actually doing anything. Right? That's not really self-driving, but it's more like assisted driving. Right? But he is excited about that, as you can see. And then we have devices. Anybody have Google Home or Amazon Echo that you can speak to, and they buy things for you? Now, 12 million Americans have this box. And they speak to the box and say, hey, I need a date. No, just kidding. I need to buy something. And then the computer buys something for them. So let's talk about what that means for humans. I think if I took a poll and I would say, are you worried about the future because the machines are getting smart? A lot of people would say, yeah, that's not good for us. But how smart really will machines become? Do machines understand things like love or trust? Maybe eventually they will understand it, but what we have today is really this. Man and machine are kind of coming together. This box here is our second brain. I have a lot of things in here that I forget myself, like Google Maps. So I was in Thessaloniki a few days ago. I wanted to go to a certain place. I just follow the Google map. I don't have to think. Right? And for some of our kids, it is the first brain. Right? Because everything is in here. Everything that they do is in here. So it's already happening very, very quickly. And this, in terms of work, this is our future. We're going to work a lot more with machines. Not necessarily robots, but intelligent assistants and smart software and the cloud and Salesforce and what have you. Right? And is that a bad thing? I think it's a great thing because we can be faster, more efficient, we can do stuff when we're not in the office, but it does change our job. I mean, that's obvious because our job is depending on what we used to do in the past. And many people are arguing that now we're moving into a world to where essentially, there are sort of extinct jobs. like, for example, the accountant, the cleaner, things that machines will do. But we have to ask a question. Just because machines can do these kind of things, yeah, does it mean that we're going to see jobs like doctors or lawyers that machines can do? There's funny, there's a big American company who is starting to do what's called a robo-lawyer, a way of robotizing things. I really think it's going to be this. We're going to have a huge amount of changes, algorithms, technology, but then there's still us. Marvin Minsky, who's the founder of artificial intelligence, he once said, it's incredibly hard for a computer to do things that are very easy for people. And it's very easy for people to do something that's hard for a computer. And that's this. Right? I mean, think about this for a minute. A business relationship is always based on trust and things that it's very hard to explain. It's not just numbers. So this is really our future, so the handshake between humans and machines. And this will not be easy. But it's a good thing. I mean, think about that. If your job is 70% routine, adding up numbers, doing research, sending out things, if you can get rid of the routine and then do something new, you can help your clients. You can do other things. It feels threatening to me, for example, 5 years ago, we used to make research reports, like the future of Switzerland. And you know what you do today if you want to know about the future of Switzerland? You ask Google Trends. You go to Twitter. Or you ask IBM Watson, it has the answer for anything. IBM's artificial intelligence. So we're going into a future where that's really dramatically different, and our skills are changing. These are the old skills from the World Economic Forum on the left. On the right are the new skills that we need, that our kids need. Critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, cognitive flexibility. 10 years ago, if you had asked a company if they want to hire people who are emotional and critical and have emotional intelligence and ask questions, everybody would have said, no way. We don't want it. Those are troublemakers. Right? Today, this is the number one thing. If you ask human resource department in pretty much any big company, they want people who are creative and who are critical thinkers. It's completely different. And how do our kids learn that? To be a critical thinker. The schools have to teach them how to think, not to download information. So that's going to really change our world. And we're looking at those two things in the past. It was primarily important what kind of intellectual firepower you have. IQ. What do you know? When the computer knows things, my knowledge is relevant, but it's not that important anymore. If I can ask the computer, what is the claims process for this kind of thing, and how long will it take, and can you do, then my knowledge is not quite as powerful anymore. So I need to resort to what we call EQ, emotional quotient. And it's funny, there's been lots of research on emotional intelligence, and scientists are saying that women have a lot more emotional intelligence than men. So women are kind of good for the future there, right? We can discuss that later after we had a few drinks, to where that's going. But in psychology, they say what really matters to people is actually not data. It's not information. It's these things called PERMA: positive emotion, engagement, meaning, positive relationships, accomplishment. I always say that happiness is not a technology. And to make your customer happy involves technology, of course, many times. But it's not an app. It's not a download. Here's a great saying by this guy, Albert Hubbard, who says that one machine can do the work of 50 ordinary men, he said, I say women, but no machine can do the work of one extraordinary man. So our future holds that we have to be extraordinary. We have to be more human, not less human. Because the machines will cover everything else that's logic and the grunt work and the heavy lifting and the numbers. So really, look at it like this, the human intelligence, the gray arrow, can go directly to the point. If you meet a client, the client is not really saying what the problem is, but you know what it is because it's somewhere in between. Right? It's something that you feel from the message, that you read between the lines. It takes you about 4 seconds to figure this out. The computer, it would find out everything else, right? But not that. So it's really important that we collaborate, and I often say that we should put the human back inside. So it's important that we invest in technology, that we understand technology, but technology is not the purpose of life. So there's something that we need to look at in terms of how we build, and I come to the future of insurance here. So first of all, there's 3 things that are happening here. Data is the new oil. I'm sure you're familiar with that saying. All the companies that deal with data, search engines, social media, they're the top 20 companies in the world. It's no longer the oil companies, right? Maybe the oil tankers, not the oil companies, or the banks. It's the companies that run the data. And if you're in the insurance business, you know what that means. The better data, the better business. Right? And then you have machines that are becoming smart, thinking machines. Don't be fooled here for a second. These machines are not thinking. They're not thinking like you. They can't. Maybe in 50 years. But they can be really smart by taking 1 billion data feeds and information, coming up with a pattern, which we can't. Right? But I wouldn't call that thinking. And then we have telematics. Connecting the car, connecting the house, connecting the wristwatch, giving us information, and then, this is obviously a great thing for insurance, because you can measure. So one of the examples is Waymo, the truly self-driving car. Okay, this car actually is in Palo Alto, California. If you go there, certainly you should give it a try. This car is completely self-driving. So you sit in the back, you can do whatever you want. And you have to ask a question, if you're insurance, if you're selling insurance, if this becomes normal, what are we insuring? Because there would be almost no accidents here. I mean, if you have many other cars and you have these, of course there's a problem, right? But if you only have self-driving cars, there'd be no accident. So, that's the insurance model is going to change. That will take some time, but I think Generali is involved with this project as well, called My Drive, where you actually pay different fees when you track the insurance and how you're driving. That's one of the outcomes of this kind of business model. So basically what's happening is that everything is becoming smart. I sometimes jokingly say that we stick an old business into the converter, and out comes the smart business. Smart farming, smart cities, maybe smart insurance, maybe even smart politics, That would have to be a very big converter. But what if we stuck your offering in this converter, and what would it look like? That's what people want. Yeah? And if you're looking at millennials, kids between 22 and 35, it has to be mobile, it has to be smart, it has to be fixed, it has to be as quick as Facebook. Yeah? And that's something that we're seeing in the near future. So this word artificial intelligence comes up a lot. I want to explain it briefly. One of the founders of DeepMind says that artificial intelligence is machines that can take data and information and make knowledge. These are not machines that are programmed, they're actually learning from the data. They develop knowledge. And this is where it gets a little bit scary for us, because we have knowledge. But think about this for a second. If you stand next to a computer and you've been in insurance for 30 years and you tell all of your information to the machine, would the machine be like you? No, it wouldn't. It would know a few things, but it wouldn't be like you. It would be advancing, but it still would be missing pieces. So I think this is something that we see all around us. You see here some statistics about what's happening in insurance, and this will change our lives forever. I think to the positive. Artificial intelligence involved with robotic process automation and data analytics and so on. You probably discuss it every day. But here's the bottom line. Insurance is converging with technology. In fact, technology companies are getting into insurance. Amazon, Alibaba, So to look into the future now, we have to be familiar with technology. We have to use it at the same time that we develop customer relationships. Here's a couple examples. This app called Trove is on-demand insurance. You just make a photo of what you want to insure, and then it will automatically insure that over the mobile network. You just make a photo of it, and you can chat with the client. This is not something that a 75-year-old Greek person would do, right? But a millennial, absolutely. Yeah? And then we have apps that use intelligence to scan the car after the accident. So we don't have to send the control person from the insurance. The app does the damage check. And it detects the fraud, too, from the kind of damage. Okay? I think that's still in the early days, but it's widely used in America. We have customer service agents that you can call, that are virtual. So, I mean, this is a kind of a preview of the future. So, one thing that I talk about a lot is how we keep technology human. Because sometimes it feels like technology is doing all these things and it's not really going very well. So how do we do that? It's called digital ethics. And Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple. He held a speech in Brussels the other day, and he said technology can do great things, but it does not want to do great things. It doesn't want anything. I mean, technology doesn't care either way. It's just, this is just a machine. Right? If you tell technology to track every single person in Greece and find out if they're keeping money somewhere, so it would do it if it can. It doesn't care. Right? So we have to actually do that. We have to do these things: security, protection, regulation, ethics, social contracts. We have to decide what it should do and what it shouldn't do. And that's that's not an easy decision. I guess I said the wrong thing, huh? Sorry. Okay, so greatest example is Facebook. Most of you are on Facebook, I would assume, right? And Facebook is now basically shooting at democracy, right? Because we have all noticed that we're being manipulated by what it says on Facebook. Facebook doesn't have an editor. I think it has 4. It's an algorithm. The algorithm shows you what you're supposed to see so that you feel good and you come back. That's not called media, right? That's manipulation. And so Facebook has become, I left Facebook 6 months ago because I feel that Facebook has become unethical. And I think just yesterday it was announced that Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, has quit Facebook. So if you have any Facebook stock, think again. I think we're looking here at the future like this. Facebook had 26 scandals last year in 2018 involving data, for example, giving your data to the phone companies, or tracking kids who have puberty problems, all kinds of things. Right? Crazy. So this is really something that we have to think about. So I'm going to wrap up by saying, how do we actually do the future? I call that doing the future rather than thinking about the future. Okay, the future first is going to be, in a nutshell, awesome, good American word, awesome humans, amazing technology. If you just have amazing technology, that's pretty good, but you'll be a commodity. Because in 5 years, everybody has amazing technology. You can buy that. Right? But on the other hand, if you're just an awesome human, and you have really bad technology, that's also difficult, right? Because people get fed up that it's not working. You need both. So don't make a mistake thinking that people are not needed. They're needed in a different way. Right? The routine is going to the machines, and we are free to do new things. That's not entirely easy, but I think we can learn that. And the future is now no longer about tomorrow. I think it's particularly important for Greece. The future is not 10 years from now or, science fiction. The future is here. The future is in our head. It's a mindset. And I think no matter if you're 25 or 57 like I am, we have to have a future mindset. We have to work with the future. Because if you have a future mindset, you will be there. I realize lots of companies I work with, even the 40-year-old guys in the management have stopped thinking about the future. They just repeat. So we have to think a little bit more about the future. The other thing is, we need to tune down the fear. Okay? A little bit of fear is fine, as I say, 10%. Right? But we're constantly thinking about what's going to happen to us because, there's some cyber warfare or, Amazon is coming or whatever. Right? I think we're a lot better than that. I don't think we have to worry about machines getting smart because it'll be at least 50 years before they can compete with us to be anything like us. Well, that's pretty far away, but yeah, let's think about that. And then we have to collaborate. I mean, all of you are agents, many people from Generali here. We have to collaborate to create this future. Because the only way that we can keep us by collaboration. It's funny, even with other companies, we have to think about how we can collaborate. For example, in America, UPS has teamed up with the German Postal Service, the biggest competitor, to create a new online platform to create business. So it's very important to think of it that way. And key point here, we should not use technology just for efficiency. Efficiency is good. The CFO loves efficiency. We like efficiency, but efficiency is kind of like when you have achieved efficiency, it's ending, it's it, right? You're done. You can't keep making things more efficient. We have to actually use technology to make new things, to do things differently, do away with the paper, do away with the routine, make things for the customer where they are happy about. Take an example of Amazon. Right? They're not just efficient, but they're changing the way that we do things. And that's the important part. That's why they're so powerful. And finally, do not expect technology to solve social, political, cultural problems. It makes them worse. Because technology is a tool. I mean, look what happened with Facebook. Right? Now, Facebook is the biggest media company in the world, but you don't really hear any objective things on Facebook. It's all just programming. It's not media. So it hasn't really made it better. So if you're looking at this slide, for example, inequality. Did you know that last year in 2018, there were about 2,200 billionaires in the world? They gained 10%, I think 12% actually, in money in 2018. And the bottom part of all of the population in the world lost 10%. And why is that? Well, this is not something that an app can fix. We're going to have to think of that as a political process. Right? And social media, we're going to have to regulate this. So there's things that will not be fixed by this. So I've been suggesting, when I'm traveling, I'm speaking to lots of politicians. I think we should ask every single politician to get a driver's license for the future, to pass a test. Do you understand virtual reality? Do you understand artificial intelligence? What do you know about genome engineering of humans? What does the future work look like? What should the school look like? If they can't pass the test, they shouldn't even be the mayor of a city. So we've suggested this kind of like a driver's license for the future. I know your elections are coming up, so we're not going to talk about politics, though. That will ruin the evening. But okay, I'm going to wrap up by saying, we have to decide of what we want to be. On the right, you have Team Human, which is us on top of technology. And on the left, you have Team Robot. It's the technology on top of the human. I think it's very important that we answer this question. Sometimes you go a little bit overboard and you can have that as this effect, but I think it's very important. The CEO of Walmart, one of my clients, he said the other day that in the world, that the world becomes more digital, it is our humanity that wins with the customers. I'm going to turn this around and say, in a world that goes more digital, if you're not there going digital, that will be the reverse, also doesn't work. Right? But the humanity is what makes the difference on top of technology, and humans on top of technology. And finally, many people that I speak to, they kind of feel like they have to become faster and more efficient and do multitasking and work longer. And we can forget this, yeah? Is not going to work to compete with machines. In fact, I always say, sorry about that. I always say that the more technology comes in, the less we are like the machines, the better. And then again, if you have kids, that's what you have to teach your kids. Of course you have to understand technology, but to be like technology is a bad idea. So I wrap up with a saying from my book that we need to embrace technology, but not become technology. I think that's the key to the future. Thanks very much for listening.